How's it going, fella? Just hanging. What's up with you? I'm tracking someone for a case. Okay, now we're talking. What's the guy do? Murder? Arson? Nothing so bad as your crime against fashion. What's with that jacket? You don't faze me, bro. Just kidding. Take a look at this photo. Recognize him at all? Nah, man. Even if I had, why would I tell you? Do you know someone called Johnny? Who's asking? Name's Wallace. Maybe, bro. Maybe. I heard you got monkey butt. The fuck? Where'd you get that stupid idea, Striper? A friend? Well, you need better friends. I don't have shit. But you know where to get it. Hook me up with a bouncer. I'll bet it looks good on you. Hank doesn't let any old chump in. For good reason. Say I make you simpatico. What does Johnny get in return? Okay, fine. I'm a detective. My mark is in the bite. A PI isn't a bad guy to have owing you a favor. You shitting me? Prove it, punk. Do you think I'd ask if it wasn't serious? Now scram. Yeah, so all I see is a filthy trash mobster who drinks alone and cries over his dirty magazines every night. Probably lives with his mama too. And the trench coat is just the final pitiful cherry on top of a crab cake. I don't feel like insulting him back would be necessarily the best option, so I'll go with, what the heck, dude? That's rough. You don't even know me. Ow. Okay, this game, my defenses are up. This game is mean. This game is just gonna be mean. I don't need to know you to know your kind. Potent statement. Read that in the book, Busher? Shut your mouth, or I'll stuff your trash tail in it. I do not want to get in an argument about the drugs, or just insult him with racism back. So I can't go with 1, and I can't go with 3, but it's just like, oh, I now have to be like, yes, I am a loser, but please help me. You know, you're right. I am a loser, but I need your help. Ugh, you're pathetic. Would you get lost? Your fucked up face is scaring me. Yes, I really do. Help me, Johnny. You are gross and weird. I'll get you in, but you have got to leave me alone, okay? Beautiful.
This is Backbone, a game currently in development that we played months and months and months ago. And it really struck me at the time, and the more I think about it, because, well, raccoons in this game are a stand-in for, black people? The use of Striper, which sounds a lot like the N-word with the hard R, and just the mission of you aren't allowed in this club because of your species. You need to find an alternate way in, just screams, if this was not with Anthros, that this would be a Jim Crow era story. And what it took me to fully digest of how uncomfortable it was, why I valued it in the first place. It wasn't just because it reflected my experiences, or the experiences of others as I've heard them, but also because, well, I figured it would be a great tool to teach white people how it feels to be black. We shared this with a friend who's also black and who told us they'll never play this game now. And it's not that they think that the representation or reflection of the black experience is bad, but more as because they don't want to experience what they experience in everyday life in a video game. They've already been hurt enough. It makes you relive trauma that you've already experienced if you do relate to this. And I was really excited to show it to them, thinking that they would approve of this. Kind of like how stuff like Dystopia handles things of race and oppression. It's made me think I appreciate representation both when it's just there and when it has that deeper meaning and relates to the plot in untold ways that so many people, especially people who claim to not be racist, say they value and want. But I think that the fact that I needed to find such on-the-nose representation in an indie game about furries just speaks to the lack of representation there is elsewhere, especially for people of color, and especially for black people. I'm sure you know this, but diversity is quite divisive when it comes to shit nerds like. Stuff like historical accuracy comes up a lot when gamers see black folks in roles of prominence, especially in games. Being a nerd while black can be very difficult both for obvious reasons and not so obvious ones. Before the widespread pop culture embrace of nerdism in the last decade or so, it was divisive to be proud of your nerdiness in black communities. At least in America. No group is a monolith, but it is a very common experience for black folks in the 90s and early aughts to keep interest in anime or video games a secret, or at the very least, to only show interest in series that are mature, or flaunt an air of power and dominance, so you don't get labeled soft. Although, if you were watching stuff that made you seem soft, if you were hard enough, it didn't matter. Cause, I mean, who's gonna stop you? We were never that hard. We knew folks whose media diet that wasn't music or TV, consisting of only Call of Duty, Madden, and Dragon Ball Z. We remember being accused of trying to act white for interest in things like alt-rock, anime, and skateboarding. Suffice to say, the white people are the default is espoused by more than just white folks. Because being a minority often means your existence is defined by what you're allowed to be. The nail that sticks out is the one that gets hammered down. And growing up, those around you tend to believe that restricting your interests inherently protects you. Although of course there are bullies that think that you're just weird, and of course I should punish you for liking those things. Not to mention the pressure put on black people to grow up faster by society and circumstance. The world is a dangerous and unforgiving place, and there's less pity for us than for our white counterparts. For those reasons, overachieving is highly encouraged. This has a class struggle dynamic to it, of course, because getting education is supposed to make for a better life. So the thought is, the effort that one puts into leisure is wasted because it's better used to contribute to your future, unless that leisure is wrapped up in other opportunities to ascend the social ladder, like sports or art. But only if you're exceptional. Video games and animation are sometimes thought of as exceptions to this rule. Making video games for a long time has been much less accessible to folks without a certain amount of education. However, nowadays with tools that allow games to be made by nearly anyone with time, a computer, and internet, have really flattened things out. Despite this being the most diverse video games animation have ever been, it's still quite lacking. And it's disheartening to see so many folks take offense to any BIPOC being in a mainstream release unless it makes sense. For black folks, that often means it makes sense if we're in crime stories, or stories about the struggle of being who we are in a world that is hostile to us. Or we're being used as a ham-fisted and indirect allegory to racism and class struggle in general. Looking at you, Detroit Become Human. And of course, as far as mainstream gaming companies are concerned, it doesn't usually make sense from a marketing perspective to have black leads, as it angers gamers and makes them less likely to buy. Sometimes. American animation is slightly better? At least there are cartoons one can point to with black leads or even entire casts more easily than we can for video games.
Becoming legends isn't gonna be easy, but nobody never got nothing from not risking nothing.
From Craig of the Creek to the Proud Family, there are things to celebrate. Although we still have a long way to go, is even works that celebrate blackness, like Steven Universe, with its black coating of garnet, the rubies, and amethyst, still falls short.
Steven, I think we should go.
No way! This is awesome!
Watch it! Steven! You're just too much!
Maybe you're just too little. Get back here!
Nice try!
That all you got? You think that's enough to beat?
Specifically in Steven Universe's case, of making the fusion of garnet and amethyst inherently dangerous. And after her debut, silent and only useful as a weapon, with no kind of character development or exploration. I do know this is a symptom of Nicki Minaj being casted as Sugalight's voice actor, a celebrity which would be expensive to hire for even a small role. But the lack of recasting speaks volumes about priorities as the creative team and or Cartoon Network throwing her to the wayside shows. She doesn't even have grunting sounds in Steven Universe Save the Light. It's uncanny as fuck and makes me really, really sad. Recently we had a conversation with our girlfriend about black protagonists in video games, as we both tried mostly in vain to list games with black protagonists, eventually coming up short and resorting to the internet for help, which yielded many lists of games with black characters in them, but not so much games with black main characters. As nice as it is to see those lists, many times the one black character is there to fill out the roster with little thought given to their character other than how they can support their white teammates. Among AAA games, it's hard to find many folks that look like us, and even when we do, it's often very triggering. The Last of Us is a perfect example, as we have made a video about it before, once we realized that every black character in the game meets a grisly end and are used as plot devices, often fridged to highlight something about the surviving cast or push them in a certain direction. Now, especially because we're Fluffbyte, a lover of indie games big and small, obviously we were very enthused to look into the indie sphere to find representation. Although I have to admit that I felt a bit disingenuous looking through lists of indie games made by black folks or with black leads. Not only because there are so few that get attention that many lists are plugging the same games over and over, but also because I had to go out of my way to find them. Far out of my way. Hey everybody, another essay is about to start and everything, but just wanted to come and say thanks for watching, and we have a GoFundMe right now, because we're really struggling to live and survive, and if you want to help, you can, but just sharing it also helps. Things have been really topsy-turvy, so it's been hard to get our longer essays out. And we wanted to get at least something out this month because going too long with that essay makes us go crazy. So we hope you enjoy the rest of the video, and expect some more Fluffbyte presents in March. My research beyond top 10 lists has bummed me out in particular because many are small projects in demo stages with a pay what you want model, meaning the devs don't expect to make any money. With good reason, especially because the indie market is very saturated and many gamers only want
the best of the best of the best, sir. Yeah, with honors.
We did find some indie games made by black folk and or with black casts and protagonists, although some with black protagonists I couldn't confirm were made by black people. In fact, the black indies we have played and intending to show off in this video we didn't know were black developed until after we played them. And I think it needs to be mentioned that black culture, as opposed to black people, are very marketable in media, not least of all in games. I talked about this at length in my analysis of Starfetcher's pilot, which most of you according to the YouTube guides haven't even seen, so I won't retread very much of it here, but dance, music, graffiti, DJing, and so much more have come up in games often as aesthetic trappings, or, even in the case of games like Starfetcher's pilot, directly inform the plot in some way.
Zambazi, it's not very gangster to help out the authority. Maybe not, but it's baller as fuck to get paid a mountain of cash. We need to raise some serious capital. And this is capital.
And that's kinda cool. But in researching this video, I found it a gut punch to see that the game I've been most looking forward to, that's very much informed by black culture, doesn't have any black folk on the dev team as far as I could find. I'm referring to Bomb Rush Cyberpunk, developed by Team Reptile, who also made the awesome Lethal League and its sequel, Lethal League Blaze. And of course, this knowledge drove home for me that, like many games inspired by the masterpieces that are Jet Set Radio and Jet Set Radio Future, the highlighting of black culture is incidental, but not necessarily the point. While I expect games like Mark Echo's Getting Up and Wu-Tang Shaolin Style to be very unfamiliar names to most gamers. And to make matters worse, those games were only possible because they were funded by a rap label and clothing brand respectively. They wouldn't have even existed without black folks being monetarily successful in other fields and pouring their money into it. Not dissimilar to shit, we haven't even played those games, as even when they were released, they were very hard to get a hold of. I don't think they sold well. And our first contact with those games was kinda rough, to be honest, because games that were main charactered by black folks, especially back in the day, seemed to mostly be involved with stuff like hip-hop and graffiti, which is awesome. However, we wanted to see more diverse stories and stuff that wasn't just urban decay and rap and hip-hop culture, because black culture is more than that. Not to mention the alienation that I feel when I noticed that most black leads in video games are all masked. This isn't to say that I think Team Reptile is bad, however. I'm still looking forward to Cyberpunk and really appreciate the direction that it's going. I mean, come on! Bomb Rush Cyberpunk. 1 second per second of advanced funk style. Start your own cipher, dance, tag, trick, face off with the cops, and stake your claim to the excursions and cavities of the sprawling metropolis. As an anarcho-communist, in fact, I find it very awesome that you get to fight cops, just like in Jet Set Radio Future. And shit, I don't even think I've played a game where I can start a cipher, other than maybe Prappa the Rapper. But even so, it breaks my heart that black culture is overall more profitable to white artists than it is for black ones, even in the case of indie games. I do hope for a world in my lifetime that profits and feeding yourself and loved ones isn't a driving factor in the art folks create. But while we're still living in current year hellscape, it pisses me the fuck off. And it applies to more than just art. Shit, there was once a time that a white person entrenching themselves in black culture was something popular to be mocked.
Yeah, bitch! Yeah, you lucky I don't burn you down! Hell yeah! Hell yeah! What? You actually did it? Let's roll! You did it? Hell yeah, he didn't do nothing. He straight up tricked.
What's up with this? Huh? If you jacked it, how come you got a receipt?
I stole that too. This ain't no picnic, bitch! Oh, wow!
I love the blue steel line.
Hey, man, convincing.
But now it's trickled up as something that makes one more cool or down to earth. But hey, black culture informs a lot of general American society.
This perk is hella horizontal. Hella, what a great word.
Black culture is cool, but black people are dangerous. Unless, of course, they don't act black.
We should hang out sometime, huh? Not that we have to, but I think tonight we should.
What's your name again?
Billy. Billy Cranston. Oh, William Cranston. You remember kids used to call me Billy Crams Tons as a third-grade joke, like Billy crams tons of crayons in his butt, which I didn't. It's really impossible to cram a ton of crayons in a butt.
Shit, a couple of years ago, we were told by a white person that he was blacker than us because he reflected more stereotypical black energy than we did. Because, of course, we didn't talk or dress like a black person at all, according to those that see black folk as a monolith. Although, it's an attitude prevalent even in many black spaces, as the origin of the word Oreo demonstrates. A term we used to self-identify with pride, but now see mostly as an insult. And of course, we saw it as a good thing once upon a time, since it granted us social and scholastic opportunities.
These exorcists use their talents to save the city. Many of the descendants are now part of Neo-Yokio high society, adding to our rich cultural tapestry.
And although our family of origin did have chagrin with our interests, it was acceptable because of how well we did in school. You know, being a nerd. Though we were often encouraged to grow up and leave childish things behind. We didn't really code switch as much as we just stayed in make white people feel safe mode. Only switching to something more expected of us around other black people when we thought being seen as talking or acting white might get us hurt. And once we began college, the amount of black folk we brushed shoulders with became fewer and fewer between. So at that point, it didn't even matter. It's a shitty existence. And hell, we still benefit from it as we carry ourselves today. Although, to be clear, it's not an act, just how we are. But we were conditioned to see being this way as being seen as less black to be a boon to our quality of life. And because we don't show our face in our content, we even often hear people say that they forget we're black altogether. Which is part of the reason that most of our sonas have curly hair, with the exception of Punkbite, because she perms her hair. You know, it's actually really hard to get artists in the furry community to draw curly hair the right way. The amount of times we have to provide tons of references or give tons of edits and notes just for the hair is, ridiculous. Even amongst artists that are of color themselves as well. So anyway, there are two games in particular we want to highlight today that are made by black folk, which we've actually played and we'd love to put some attention on. She Dreams Elsewhere is still in development, but does have a demo out on Steam and is slated to have a simultaneous Switch release. And fuck, does it hit. It's an Earthbound-inspired turn-based RPG. Hey, shut up, I know we're obsessed. It follows a girl in a coma exploring her memories in a journey to wake up and find out why she's in a coma in the first place. Its art direction in particular is gorgeous, full of fractals and images reminiscent of stained glass. And some very uncanny enemies. It's very heckin' pretty. And of course, it scratches our adorable itch, as the sprites are cute, but the story is very fucking heavy. What also stuck out to us was the writing, which made us sure not to let you forget that the characters are black.
Ask him to explain further. Explain. It's real simple. Imagine the forest a fish needs to live, okay? It's like to swim around and shit, right? Take that energy and put it in squirrel mode. And boom. You got yourself a squirrel fish, nigga. Ah! Sorry! I didn't think that was gonna... It just... Oh god! Oh, the stream is gonna be so weird. And I don't think it should be bad. It's fine that that word's in this game. It makes me so uncomfortable and comfortable at the same time. But I literally hadn't said the N-word in so long. Probably because I live with white people, so...
And oh boy, were we not prepared to hear the N-word in a video game, let alone speak it. For prosperity, most of us feel uncomfortable using the N-word in content because of our mostly white audience, as well as the imposter syndrome we feel from being told we weren't really black for so long.
I'm sure it was tough growing up, wondering which side you fit into, feeling like you have to overcompensate perhaps.
If that's true, Dean, I'm not the only one.
But this game makes us feel seen, and I don't know any other black produced Earthbound likes. We gotta get on that. And it's nice to see black games that aren't necessarily seeped in Afrocentric imagery, while still being very visibly black. Not because it's bad, but because I see it so much. And just like most other games we like, we have noticed by looking through the footage since the stream was a while back when we looked at this game, that yeah, we seem to really like games with themes of self-doubt, anxiety, depression, and not feeling like you'll ever be enough for the love of other people. So, know that that's in the game too. The other game is a fave of Drizzle's. We got it as a Christmas gift from a friend. It's called Don't Give Up, A Cynical Tale. We've been wanting to get our hands on it for a while, but we're surprised by the protag and the developer being black because, based on the cover, we assumed it was about a white person. The premise itself was always promising. Inspiring game dev with depression, trying to finish his magnum opus when supernatural shit derails it. But actually starting it up and seeing that hair was like, oh shit, it me! Well, sorta. I gotta say, seeing folks that look like you and stories that resonate with you are super hellish way, as the game follows some pretty heavy topics. Picking up the pieces from a destroyed relationship, alcoholism, escapism, and trying to make art even as you feel your life is basically over. When my fiance left me, I had nothing left. We lived in her apartment and I was jobless at the time. I didn't have any friends in real life. I had some coworkers I liked, but they had girlfriends, jobs. And I know my upbringing kept me from relating to a lot of the lifestyles and upbringings of others. I moved across the country looking for a better start. But no matter how hard I tried, I was always empty. I sat in bars, drinking, willing to buy anyone a drink who'd show me the slightest interest in me. Not to mention, I'm still jobless and on the very brink of financial ruin. Tress, there was a time where I truly believed that there was simply no place for me in this life. The world didn't stop or change just because I decided to drastically change my life. It cared very little about my terrible mother, my lack of love, or any of the other unfair lots I had in life. I get it though. Who would want to take a chance on someone like me? There are a lot of crappy people in the world, so I wouldn't blame someone for not taking the chance on me when they've got their own circles they belong in. But that's so wrong, you know? Why can't we And of course, the catch Fluff's attention special of having a pretty heavy plural/DID reading. We only realized that this was a game made by a black person with a black protagonist when we stumbled upon the GDC talk with the developer.
My least ambitious video game project, but it was really just an outlet for me. So I started writing about myself and making the game I wanted to make versus making a game that I thought would sell or do well or would go mainstream or viral.
Because he talked about it and was showing his face. It's an RPG of shorts. It's an RPG of sorts, turn-based of course, but with combat that is reminiscent of a rhythm game, as position for dodging attacks and blocking is way more important than attacking. I can't say much in a first-hand way, but Drizzlebyte played it for about 12 hours on stream when she first played it. I wasn't sure how long this game was. I wasn't sure if it was possible to finish this game in one sitting. It probably is, but 2 sittings couldn't hurt. The combat is neat, but the story in particular is engrossing as heck. It's filled with social commentary out the wazoo, while still being able to balance humor and serious moments that are tear fuel at lightest and soul destroying at heaviest. You can tell the game very much has the soul of its dev inside it, as the pain of making art when even feeding yourself is a struggle is a recurring theme. Did I mention the plot is also very anime? Thanks for weakening this one for me. I was afraid I'd have to get my hands dirty. What are you doing with Nova? Oh please. Don't tell me you feel sorry for this thing. Its very existence is torture. I'm giving it a higher purpose. This game in particular has been a big move for us and we can't wait to return to streaming it, as it definitely is ripe for a very thick essay one day. So, in conclusion, February should be 32 days and be bookended as national holidays. I'm writing this conclusion because it's 5 AM. I'd rather not let Punk by overthink it in the morning. There's a lot of stuff we still wanted to say. In fact, we'll probably have to do a separate one of these about animation specifically, mentioning stuff like how, as a black person, attaching to any dark-skinned character that came on screen in games and animation became sort of a habit. And as we grew up and could tell what ethnicities the characters we previously saw as black were, how distressing it was in seeing that most stuff had a very low melanin limit. 1 dark-skinned character per thingy, please. But let's focus on other stuff right now. More depressing stuff. Video essays are supposed to end in some upbeat thing so you can feel like you didn't waste your time and you're better off knowing a little bit more about something you're ignorant to. Enter McGagetainment. But to tell the truth, I want to talk a little bit more candidly, I guess, and not try so much to wrap this up so neatly. I hate that we haven't put on a long-form essay yet this year. Truth is, we've been pushing through burnout rather hard, because we don't always feel like we have a choice. It's like in March and somehow I feel sorta kinda like a failure by my own standards. And then Thought Slime came out with a new video that I was avoiding watching until I was in a rut when trying to finish this essay, and couldn't help myself. And what did I find but further confirmation of knowledge that being a content creator had been teaching us for the last year.
One lucky break, that's all that separates me from a sea of more qualified people. And what a fraud I am, preaching these values but not living them. Telling everyone the importance of equality and abolishing authority while doing everything in my power to hold on to my little e-celebrity clout. I sleep at night by telling myself that I think other entertainers deserve to get paid, but I'm not an entertainer. I'm a wannabe entertainer who tricked people into thinking I'm an educator. I'm a blogger with delusions of being an artist. I'm the worst kind of grifter, the kind who's too dumb to even recognize they're a grifter. There is no external validation that is going to make you stop feeling that way, because that feeling comes from inside. Nothing from the outside is going to change it. People tell me every day that seeing the notification from my videos cheered them up on a bad day or otherwise brought them out of a dark place. People tell me every day that my videos brought them out of the alt-right or convinced them to see the humanity of people they hadn't considered before. I get emails from people every couple of months saying that something I said made them reconsider committing suicide. When I hear those things, I don't feel better. It just makes me feel like, oh no. What happens to that person when they discover I'm a fraud?
That if we do grow successful, our troubles are far from over. The existential dread, the pressure to not let folks down, the amassing of some sort of relevance that will only continue to accumulate is gonna always run contrary to our egalitarian ideals. Remembering this is the most relevant our words have ever been to others in our whole life. and how we're so scared to lose that. Knowing that in a real way, I'm better at this job than most any other one I've ever done. But also knowing that hard work isn't a determining factor on success. It's just who happens to see you. We still think back to last summer when the Black Lives Matter protests were at a fever pitch and we had the audacity to actually send an eyeball zone email. The attention we got was staggering. It's followed us to this day in a weird way. Some of you may notice we do mention Thought Slime more than almost any other YouTuber on this channel, and it's because we often wonder if we'd see anywhere near the numbers we do today without his endorsement, and if it reflects badly on us as a creator to have gotten that boost, to feel like we wouldn't be seen without it. Though the imposter syndrome sometimes hits rather hard, I try to remind myself that bigger content creators have been eyeballed before having large growth, and I don't see them as less valid. Though I sometimes feel that if I wasn't black, I would've got buried in the flood of emails I'm sure Thought Slime receives all the time. The day we sent it, he was talking on Twitter about how so few folks had submitted for eyeballs on black creators. And we thought, well, this is our best shot, right? And after that boom in growth, we strove for our spot in that video not to be wasted. Especially as we notice more and more folks featured in that video don't make content very often anymore, or at all. Black voices in the leftist sphere of YouTube don't get heard nearly as much as they should, and we feel we just gotta be exemplary. And no matter how many times loved ones or followers tell us we're allowed to slow down, I for one just feel like I can't. Until we had a video that surpassed the amount of views the video Thought Slime endorsed did, we felt like we didn't even deserve our sub count. Sometimes we still don't. Meritocracy is a lie peddled to the working class, but black communities have historically accepted it very readily. I mean, what choice do we have, right? And it seems to work. Everyone from actors to athletes tell all these fucking inspirational stories about how hard they worked and how they broke their back to get where they are, and it just gets ingrained in you that you'll always have to work twice as hard to get half as far as your white counterparts.
Where are you going? Go to the hospital! I'm in a competitive internship at Dean Witter.
No matter what you do. Add to that being disabled and having to fight tooth and nail for motivation, and it's no wonder we become a workaholic. Especially as our survival somewhat hinges on it. Though, despite that, it's hard not to feel lucky. But one good thing about knowing meritocracy is a lie and being reminded that no one who's successful deserves their success is sometimes we actually remember that the longer we stick around, the better our chances get of being seen. And the better the chances are that our work will reach someone who needs it, even if we don't think we do enough. Thanks for watching, everybody. Take care of yourselves. Hey everybody, I'm Infantabyte, your local editing fluff, and I have some footnotes, I suppose? Stuff. I have a list of things that Punk and Driz didn't get a chance to say that they want people to know. First, they really like the Power Rangers movie and they don't think that Billy was bad representation. We reached out to the dev for this game called Deltagal because they have a black protagonist. The dev wasn't black but pointed us to a dev that was making a Mega Man-like game that is black. Ended up being a game that we already helped crowdfund months ago, apparently. Protodroid, I think that's how you pronounce it. Dyslexia is bad. And we used a little bit of footage in the essay for it. There's really only a trailer out for it right now, but it looks really fun, and it's not just black representation. It seems very multicultural and a love letter to old school, just video game history stuff. Even though we're leftisty, this is one of the more political essays we've had recently, and they wanted y'all to know that we don't do a lot of these because it can be really exhausting, because we are still like a second, third, fourth class citizen or whatever, because of our multiple ways of marginalization, and so it's a lot less stressful for other leftist creators to to do that work. We don't necessarily think that all we need to do is inherently political essays. This one and the other essay this month were uncategorized essays. They aren't Fluffbyte Presents or Fluff Bits. We were just too indecisive, or it just didn't fit right in those categories. We don't know what the next essay that'll come out will be now, because again, still experiencing burnout. But we're not gonna stop working, because eviction equals death. Why did you write that? Oh, also, we haven't really watched more than one episode of Craig of the Creek, but it is really good and is a good representation of black people in cartoons, I guess. I've never seen it, but it looks really cute. I think that's everything. Thanks for still being here and sticking with us, everybody. We're very happy to have you. Anyway, I'm going to press this video and get it put up because I need a nap. Take care of yourselves.